Hello and welcome to the alternate. It's Tab and it's been a minute. So, welcome back. Hello. It's day 2 of the Nicholas James Kassotis trial. Boom. Oh my gosh. This one we weren't even planning to do, but we have some surprises in store for you on this one. And it's one Margot talked about on TikTok, and we just had to do it. So here we are, day 2 of the trial, and it's being called the Dismembered Wife Murder Trial. If you have not listened to day 1 yet, you've got to go back and check it out first. It will give you all the crucial setup, the opening statements, the tone of both sides, and where prosecution intends to take this case. Today, though, we got into the meat of the state's evidence and started to see how the defense plans to poke holes in it. So let's break it down witness by witness. So court opens with judge on the struggle bus. Now, before we got to testimony, the judge did make a quick comment. Apparently, it's the first day of school there in Georgia, and traffic hit him hard. He let everyone know that he'd be leaving a little bit earlier tomorrow, and honestly, totally relatable in my book. I'm with you, Judge. Then came the first witness, Lieutenant Anthony Brown from the GBI. We began with the continuation from his testimony yesterday. The defense wasted no time and jumped into the cross. They brought him back to the scene where Mindi Kassotis' body was ultimately found. Specifically, they zeroed in on the road where Mindy's torso was discovered. Now remember, she was discovered in kind of like a ditch off the road by some hunters. Well, apparently about 600 feet from where she was found was the roadway, and the roadway was strewn with beer bottles and Coke cans and soda bottles and like just crap. And what the officer said was, it's just standard highway litter. I mean, sounds like a little bit more than standard, but I mean, maybe that's how it is out there. So Lieutenant Brown testified that he did not collect any of that specific litter, nothing involving a drink per se. He said it wasn't in his direct path leading to the body. He did, however, collect a cigarette pack, which was on the route to the remains. It was a few hundred feet from the remains, but he found that was maybe something that had to do with the case. The implications from the defense was that this was a high traffic, potentially contaminated area, not a pristine dump site. Then we moved on to the Airbnb house. I mean, this house actually was like turned into an Airbnb. I don't know when, we didn't get into the specifics, but it's where Mindi and Nicholas stayed or had stayed. The defense highlighted that the amount of blood found inside was pretty small. Particularly, they only found blood of any significance on a futon, and most of the other blood barely registered under luminol, even after a minute of exposure. Lieutenant Brown admitted that they found nothing really that lit up the house or the shed, despite testing things like even the power tools that were in the shed. Nothing was lighting up. Also, the blood found on the futon, you could see it with and without the luminol testing, and it did look like a significant amount, but nothing of a dismembered body. It just was, like around, if you're watching this, it was like maybe like a melon shape, like not like a watermelon, but more like a mango shaped spot of blood, which I would say is pretty significant. But I guess if you had like a bad period or something like that, you could see that much blood getting on something. It wasn't it looked like it was probably tried to be cleaned up, but obviously it stained the cushion. Now, crucially, he also testified that he could not say definitively that Mindi was dismembered in this house. There was no evidence to confirm or really deny it, right? I mean, there definitely wasn't a way to confirm it. This house was not lit up, which you would think would happen with a dismemberment of a body in this specific house. Also worth noting, the search of the house didn't take place until 6 months after Mindi was killed. So take that in consideration also. On redirect, prosecution clarified that it was an Airbnb that had been rented to others during the 6-month window, so it also wasn't untouched. Second witness up was Special Agent Lindy Smith from the GBI. She has been with the GBI for 19 years, despite looking young. I mean, girlfriend, I was like, 19 years? Plus she was somewhere else for 3 years before that. I mean, she started early, clearly, or she's using some 5 Crimes facial cream to keep her wrinkles light. She is clearly seasoned and she has moved up the ranks. So good for you, Lindy. I think that is super impressive. She was on call the day that Mindi's torso was discovered, but although she was working the so-called scene, she didn't respond to the scene directly. She did, however, participate in the search for the additional remains on January 5th, several days later. Now, here's where it got a little bit graphic. She did testify that they collected maggots from the body and had to boil them on like not on site, because clearly they don't have I guess they could have a camping stove, but they did not. So they collected these maggots, took them to a site to preserve them and boil them down and then give them to the experts to see. They are called entomologists, and they can actually estimate the time of death based on these maggots' developmental stage. Okay, I'm sorry to tell you that. It's really, I know, stomach churning, so hopefully this is not your lunch break that you're listening to this on. She also led the effort to release a public sketch of the unidentified Jane Doe, because remember, they didn't know who Mindi was. They didn't even have her head at this time. So, well, actually, once they did the sketch, of course, they had the head, but they didn't know who Mindi was. So Mindi's head, once it was recovered, they noted, or actually Lindy noted, that her eyes looked brown. So they sketched the rendering with the wrong color eyes, but still the GBI received plenty of tips from this sketch, but none of them led to Mindi's identity. Agent Smith later submitted blood samples to Gene by Gene for forensic genealogy service, which led to a match. They identified a potential mother of the victim and collected DNA from her, and that's ultimately how they confirmed it was Mindi. During cross, defense attorney Weinstein asked about evidence the crime lab didn't test, which included some wipes they found at the scene. Smith confirmed that she had wanted her department to test these wipes, but said the crime lab doesn't always process every item, even if the agents request it. And, they collect everything. So the crime labs have a ton to work on, and I think they decide what ultimately is deemed worthy of testing. Next up was Kelly Lawson. She was the sketch artist, and she took the stand, and she actually is the sole sketch artist for the county, which, hopefully not too many people are going missing where you have to just sketch Jane Doe's or John Doe's all the time. But let me say, I just really adored this woman. She explained her approach that she tries to make each sketch look like almost like a glamour shot or just a beautiful, dignified and compelling sketch of the person because, one, it grabs the public attention and it's more likely that someone will come forward, which I can see. But ultimately, she said it's out of respect for the victim because this is the last time anyone is going to draw a picture of them. And that is, it's sad. It's devastating actually. But I think she's the right person for the job, I'm just saying. And so I really like that she said that. And I really think that that's kind of a beautiful thing for her job. Defense had no questions for her. I can't honestly think why they would. I'm surprised they even brought her on to the stand, but they did. And we got to hear kind of a nice little end to someone's life with a sketch. Okay, next was Peter Hershey. He is a retired car salesman from Ford who spent 30 years at the Ford dealership, and he sold thousands of cars. He sounds like actually like the world's best salesman because I think he said he sold over like 200 cars in a year, which, I mean, dude is selling at least a car a day that he's working, I would think, right? Like maybe he has a couple days where he doesn't sell a car. That is a good salesman. Now, he sold a 2022 Ford Explorer connected to this case, though he admitted he did not remember the specifics or that transaction. He sells 200 cars a year. How's he going to remember, one from 2022? He's not. Still, his name was on the paperwork, so he said he must have sold it. He explained the sales process and the standard features, including Ford's tracking app that allows you to locate your car wherever it is, check recall notices, look if there's oil in your car. I mean, who's not going to buy a Ford now? Sounds awesome. The defense asked about a known recall involving potential fires in Ford Explorers that are between the years of 2020 and 2022. And he said he could not recall the specifics on that recall at all. And he was let go for the day, or for the whole case, I'm sure. Next up was Dean Grober. He works as a public works supervisor, and he oversees the sanitation for the city of Riceboro. He oversees a couple other things. He was up there to testify about a location known as the well of the city, which came up in connection to surveillance footage. A photo was shown of a car appearing to be a Ford Explorer. I'm thinking that exact probably Ford Explorer that was just purchased from Mr. Hershey. And it was driving by this well area around noon on November 29th. This is out by where I'm assuming they didn't say, but by where the body parts were found. Prosecutors clearly implied that this might be the vehicle that was purchased and probably the vehicle that was used to transport the body. Grober confirmed that the image did not show who was driving, but did admit that this vehicle was there at the time of the surveillance video, and you could see in one, clip of the video that the car was driving one way, and in the other clip, the car was driving, like one it was driving in and one it was driving out. But absolutely no visual of the driver, so there is no way to prove who was behind the wheel, and the defense made sure to tell you that. Next up was Brittany Gresham. She's a GBI toxicologist, and she tested a sample of Mindi's liver. Now, there was no blood available to test because that would have ultimately be the best way to test for like toxicology to see if she had any drugs or alcohol or anything in her system. She did have some diphenhydramine, I think is how you pronounce it, but basically it's Benadryl. And she explained that Postmortem toxicology can be imprecise, but the concentration that she found was 2.9 milligrams per kilogram. And while that doesn't definitively tell us how much was taken, it does indicate that Mindi did ingest a certain amount of Benadryl before she died. They did also explain that Benadryl sometimes is used as a sleep aid and sometimes is used as a allergy or an antihistamine. Next up was Dr. Keith Lehman. He is the medical examiner and the last person that we heard from for the day. Now, Dr. Keith Lehman, he performed Mindi's autopsy. The audio on this part, I'm just going to tell you, was really rough. So bear with me as I tried to listen real hard and piece together what came out of Dr. Lehman's mouth. He testified that the remains he received were in stages, with the torso first, then the legs, and then the head. He described the condition of the body in graphic detail, like animal activity, skin removal, neck severed. He noted also that Mindi had washerwoman hands, or what I would call pruny fingers. I've never actually heard that term, washerwoman hands. And the prosecution just asked, like, is that hard to get fingerprints when somebody has the so-called washerwoman hands, which I kind of find sexist, but, I mean, can't it be washerman hands? Like, let's get our husbands to do the dishes, people. Okay, I'm just kidding. So let me digress. It's late here, so I'm feeling a little tired. Anyhow, I guess she had washerwoman hands. I'm going to call them pruny fingers. And he said, yes, there is a way to take fingerprints when people have that. He doesn't specifically do that, but, the fingerprint experts can do it. And so I'm sure we'll hear from some fingerprint expert in the near future. He also described these significant injuries that Mindi had, at least 9 blunt force lacerations to her scalp. These wounds occurred while Mindi was still alive, and he did confirm that. And I find that detail is pretty key. He also explained why he couldn't do a full toxicology, because there simply wasn't enough blood in her system. Most of it had drained out due to gravity, and she was severed in many places and then moved. So the blood had pretty much all drained from her body by the time that they got her. They were able to extract DNA, however, on these like blood blot cards. So they had enough to just like blot a piece of blood to get these cards, these 5 cards that they had to collect her DNA, but not enough to send to the toxicology department. Dr. Lehman also confirmed that Mindi was not pregnant at the time of her death. And he ruled her death a homicide, which I think we all could rule that too, not being a medical examiner. During cross-examination, defense attorney Weinstein was pretty quick. He emphasized that the amount of blood that would be expected from 9 scalp lacerations was a lot, which Dr. Lehman confirmed that it would be very significant if somebody was hit over the head 9 times and had lacerations. Like, your head bleeds with a tiny cut, it bleeds a lot. So with 9 lacerations, there would be a fair amount of blood that would come from the scalp. And that was a wrap on day 2. He was sent on his way. So we're going to have I think I see like maybe 5 people on the docket for tomorrow, day 3. So where do we stand? The state is still building this narrative. I see they're kind of getting some things prepped right now to lead into what we're going to hear later, like this car detail and some of the things I think the attempted cover up, the body found in pieces, but the defense is trying to hammer back on the lack of some of the evidence. I'm still dying to see why Nicholas Kassotis and his wife were so scared of this McIntyre guy, but we shall see. So it's still very early in this trial, so I am very eager to see what day 3, 4, and 5 are going to come up with. So until tomorrow, think like a juror and decide like one too. And real quick, if you have not given us a rating or review, please do so if you have an extra second. Also, comment now what you think is going to happen in this case if you listen on Spotify in the comments. I'd love to know now versus maybe in the middle of the trial and then towards the end, if we all got it right, if we think this guy is definitely, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and he did this to his wife, or do you think that he could have really been on the run and fearing for his life? I will tell you that we are going to have some special insight into this case, and I'm not going to give you too much detail, but it will be on Patreon. So if you have not signed up for our Patreon, it is patreon.com/thealternate. And if you need to get in touch with us, we also have Instagram. And we are here for you. So if you need us to respond, Margot and I are always on it. So until tomorrow, have a wonderful day.